Welcome to the Honor the Gift podcast. I am your host, Art McCracken. I specialize in transformational leadership and high-performance coaching. I've worked with hundreds of companies and thousands of individuals along the way, helping them achieve greater outcomes in all aspects of their life. I'm a speaker and writer, but at the end of the day, none of that holds a candle to being a husband, father, and friend. I believe the greatest gift in our mortal existence is the gift of choice. How we honor that gift will shape the eternities. I also believe that career is a way of being and not just a way of life. And when you figure that out, by learning to let go of the charades and leaning into growth, life just seems to unlock itself. I know this because I've lived it. Quite simply, my calling is people experience living true. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making the commitment to lean into growth. I honor your journey. Now, let's do this. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode. This episode is titled Indifference. That term probably rings some sort of a tone or an emotion right now with everything that's being talked about. The demonstrations, the protests, the violence, the outreach, the questions. Before I get into this episode, I want to define indifference. The definition, Webster Dictionary, says it's the absence of compulsion to or toward one thing or another. The synonyms for indifference are apathy, casualness, complacence, disinterestedness, disregard, incuriosity, and there are many others. The antonyms, however, are concern, interest, and regard. So as I dive in, know that I've been heavy in thought. I have lots of questions. I certainly don't have the answers, but I'm spending time in this space to really reflect on who I am and what contribution I have in this world. So I invite you to join in today to listen carefully to the words, specifically maybe the questions that are asked, and evaluate how they might apply to you and your life, and how your life impacts others, and what opportunity exists for each of us as part of this human race. Let us acknowledge that there is indeed difference, but let us not be indifferent. Different is unique. Different is what allows us collective contribution greater than the individual. Difference is what makes us human and perfectly imperfect. Different is what gives us an abundance of opportunity to learn, to love, and serve one another in the melding of this human race. Each of us has a story. We all come to this earth naked. Our experiences shape us. Growth is a path that's an option for us. Living true, however, is very expensive and uncomfortable for certain. A world in unrest and laden with individuals begging to be noticed. The moments that call for peace and patience are all around us. We can do better. We know better. Listening to our fears and not choosing to see and have faith in humanity. We defer to absolutes and engage in casting out. We cannot follow the natural choice of pride and envy. Power comes from growth and doing the unnatural. Power to heal comes from doing the unnatural. Power to heal others comes as we embrace our differences and come together. How do we deal with others in affliction? I believe is at the very root of many of our ailments as a society. Again, that question, how do we deal with others' affliction? When not others' affliction, but others in affliction. How we answer and respond to that single question will define who we are and what our contribution will be to this world. Race, religion, color, sex, sexual preference, nor status in life give any of us an exemption of right greater than that of another human being. Not enough, more than. The conversation of equality comes on the heels on that identified gap that does exist, but need not. While it is evident that consequence is pardoned in some cases while being abruptly disallowed in others, it does not provide a platitude for indifference and opportunistic abuse of a moment. You, me, we are better than no one. We are brothers and sisters placed here to take care of one another. Why do we forget this so easily? Being anti-entitlement, ego, hate, judgment, arrogance, attitude, selfishness, neglect, abuse of power, abuse of influence is a noble cause. It's an internal cause and an external cause. Our choices on how to act or react are what define our character, not any of these other labels or unique identifiers. Again, it's our choices on how to act or react that define our character. What do I know to be true that isn't? One of the greatest questions of all time. And let me put emphasis on this question in certain spaces because I think it will resonate. At least it will challenge you to think. And it challenges me every time I say these words. What do I know to be true that is not? Am I willing to explore my own biases and fascist approach to life? Am I willing to give of my substance without any ire or complaint or hold back? We are unique, yet we are part of a greater whole. Be careful not to get caught on the sidelines, indifferent to defining humanity in its highest form. You see, the media plays a game of salacious positioning to further create and feed into fear, anger, and indifference. I want to be careful with that statement because I believe that the media in some domains, not all, but in some domains, will err on showcasing the worst in humanity as an agenda to divide rather than unify. Be careful with this and don't be a sheep that follows the crook and invitation of the enmeshed adversary. Think for yourself. Become educated through genuine questions and even more thoughtful exchanges face to face with those who will be honest with you and that you can be honest with. Use this exercise to develop a strong vision for our collective future and your individual role in it. While this message may feel like I've stepped onto a soapbox and is certainly a different tone than many of my messages, it's simply a message in hope that my thoughts might spur some additional reflection and thus new action in myself and anyone who might be tuning in. There are opportunities that exist for each one of us in our differences and imperfections to truly contribute in our own unique way as we learn to better love and serve one another. Are we looking behind us? Are we looking in front of us? Are we looking around us for others that we can link arm in arm and to go to someplace magnificent and great together? I guess being in this moment and thinking about all that is transpiring around us. COVID had us all cooped up and ready to be in communion with others and to touch and feel humanity, not separation. Don't let this time we've had to reflect on things that will matter more coming out of this be bastardized by rage and anger and further separation. Get to know people. Embrace one another. Look into the eyes of someone you perceive less fortunate with an honest effort to get to know and understand that difference and distance and that it does not have to exist. I guess being in this moment and really thinking and trying to slow down my pace of thought. I have more questions of myself and how I'm showing up. I'm having more questions around my own way of being and how it can be one of kindness and compassion, more frequently rather than less. Emotions and outbursts can sometimes be a cover or diversion for something else. while the other times the outburst can be a foul play and an even bigger diversion from the truth. As an avoidance tactic, I know this to be true because it's happened in my own life. My own personal outbursts are usually a cover for something I'm not willing to tackle and deal with. As a society, we must learn to stop avoiding hard work, to stop marginalizing misfortune or justifying the gap of hardship. Being better requires effort. Changing history requires effort. I would issue a challenge to each of us this week and ongoing, a challenge to pause, a challenge to see, and to cast zero judgment. You see, that's not our job. Our job is to love. Avoid the hesitation to serve and love by being active in your pursuit of the opportunity. Mahatma Gandhi taught that we must be the change we wish to see in the world. I believe this wholeheartedly. I know without a doubt that growth is available to all of us. There have been significant injustices in the world and even in our own homes from our haphazard tongues and careless hands. Stop. Pause. Rewind the scene and write a new story. We hold the pen. This whole concept of Sunday, Monday. We learn something on Sunday. We learn something in times of tragedy. We learn something that's right in our face. Yet Monday comes and we don't do anything about it. Sunday and Monday, let us connect those days. Let us connect every day of the week. Will the lessons and intentions of today actually make it into our tomorrow? Will we consciously and intentionally choose to be better for the world? Today, there's been a feeling of turmoil and restlessness. Yet I feel at peace because of the firsthand knowledge I have of humanity in its best form. There is a great work that lies ahead of us all, and my faith remains in the difference we can make in this world as a collective. Living in difference, but not indifferent. Elie Wiesel, the Romanian-born American writer, professor, political activist, Nobel laureate, and Holocaust survivor, said that it's not hatred that kills people, it's indifference. Some of the greatest tragedies in history could have been prevented. There are tragedies in our future yet to be written that can be prevented if we have the courage to lay down our fears and selfish personal desires by choosing to love without bounds. Our conditioned and learned reactions to different have got to be examined, and new habits must emerge. Remember that growth is always a choice. Until next week, my friends, make it a great one. And remember to always honor the gift.